prickly pear, or Opuntia sap. It's part of the cactus family and is commonly known as the prickly pear because of its fruits that you see on the top. So you can identify this by its flat paddle-shaped pads with its small clusters of fruit that stick out on the top. Most prickly pears have spines on them. This one is a spineless variety, but even though it looks like it doesn't have spines on it, it definitely absolutely does. It has these little tiny hairs that you can see along the plant, and they're a freaking nightmare to get out. So keep in mind, we still need to wear gloves when harvesting these patties. In early spring, each one of these fruits bears a bright yellow or red cup-shaped flower that is where the fruits come from. It's the fall season now, so you're seeing a lot of the fruit production on this particular plant. And this particular species is like a deep purplish red color for the prickly pears. The fruit of the prickly pear are rich in antioxidants and vitamin C, and they're sometimes used for hydration and for digestive relief. They are bright pink in the middle, and they will stain anything they touch. So these are often used in dyes for dyeing fabric and in paint. Checking that out. You can get a pretty pink as you sit down there. The prickly pear are full of seeds as well. There's quite a lot of seeds in there. They're quite yummy, huh? Can I tell everybody what it tastes like? It's very seedy. What's the flavor profile?
If it was a pear dyed pink.
A pear dyed pink? Okay. Would you eat these regularly?
Probably.
I think you dropped a piece.
Yeah. It's a very depressing piece.
Now, the traditional usage for prickly pear is for blood sugar regulation. They have anti-inflammatory effects, and they support the digestive system. And I like to use them particularly for wound healing. The pads are fantastic for that, as the inside inner gel can be used as a band-aid because they have like skin effects and therefore can be used similar to a second skin. This plant is called Ocotillo. It grows pretty tall. It kind of looks like a plant that grows out of the bottom. Spines all the way up. Also another plant that tends to bite. It's got quite a lot of thorns along the sides. It does have these pretty cute little leaf patterns that come out of it. The Ocotillo plant is part of the Sphaeralcea family of plants, and I'm not 100% sure if I'm saying that correctly. And most of its medical benefits come from the stems and the flowers. We're in the fall season, so you're not going to see any flowers on this particular. This one doesn't have any flowers on it right now, but in the springtime, you'll see these bright red tubular flower shapes that kind of come up, and if you can see, it's a little tiny bit up at the top there that pop out from the top of the Ocotillo plant. They're really pretty. And I'm not seeing any of the fruit in this particular plant, but generally the fruit are these small, dry little capsules that come out where the flowers used to be, and they drop seeds. Be sure to handle this plant with care, as it is going to poke you. Again, most things when it's dry and desert-like, it's very spiny. Ocotillo is often used for mild circulation support or respiratory health, and it's used in quite a few different anti-inflammatory remedies. The Ocotillo plant is non-toxic, so you don't have to worry about it having any toxic qualities. Alright, so I am on the side of the road for this one. This is a yucca plant. It's really tall thing, and all the flower and seed pods end up on the top of the plant. The yucca is actually part of the asparagus family, and it's identified by this giant ball-like structure on the bottom with its giant head that comes out the top with flowers. The flowers pretty in the springtime, and then they get these pods at the end of the year where they put all their seeds in them. The seeds drop down. So these ones on the side of the road are actually pretty old, because these are probably a good 15 feet in the air, maybe 10 feet in the air. Generally the stalks can get anywhere from 2 to 10, maybe 15 feet high on these particular plants. But they are one of the staples that are pretty easy to identify here in the desert. The leaf shapes are long and sword-like and pokey at the end. And the stalk of the plant comes generally up the center, straight up to the top, or blooms up at the top with all of its flowers. Consider the bottom of this plant to be a basil rosette type of leaf pattern so that you can see it. These get really, really big, and they are kind of pointy, so you know they are going to suck if you run into this. It hurts. So again, the yucca bites as well. Yucca is high in sapoins, so you can use this to make soap. It's also used for anti-inflammatory purposes. The fruits and the flowers are edible, and sometimes the leaves are used for fibers, because you can split them up and, ow, I just stabbed myself. You can split them up and get fiber. They're very fibrous. In herbalism, the yucca plant, generally we use the roots or the bottom of the plant underneath. But here in New Mexico, this is one of the protected species. This is the state plant, and we cannot harvest this without permission. The roots on the yucca plant require some preparation before you use them. And again, you know, the flowers are a little hard to get at because they're really far up there. Yucca is also used topically for skin and hair treatment. All right, so this particular flower or plant that you see here, it's getting kind of nighttime here, so the blooms are kind of closing up. But this is Desert Mallow. It's part of the mallow family. It is not like, it's similar to marshmallow, but not in the same medicinal property. The leaf pattern on this plant is alternating. It's deeply lobed and kind of long and elongated. It kind of has a fuzzy feel to it, and they're velvety, kind of greenish gray looking. They are kind of fuzzy. This can grow pretty robustly to get about 3 feet tall. It's generally non-toxic, and you can safely handle it without any problems. It likes sandy soils and desert flats and a lot of open areas. So this plant, the leaves and the flowers are generally used traditionally in teas, and it's used to treat respiratory issues, sore throats, and it has some anti-inflammatory properties as well. It's also really good as a digestive support. It is not your traditionally medically used marshmallow plant. This is the one that you will find in the desert though. Alright, so this is going to be the Datura plant, also known as moonflower. And they come out in the nighttime. They bloom at night. They're so gorgeous. The Datura plant is actually part of the Solis or nightshade family and has been commonly called Jimson weed or sacred thorn apple. So the moonflower plant is actually a toxic variety, so this isn't a plant that you want to use medicinally. However, it's got a lot of bugs on there, but the plant leaf shape is kind of like a spade, and they are alternating in their leaf pattern. So there are some traditional medicinal uses for this plant, but it's not often used currently in Western herbalism. Let's look at that. The flowers are about ready to bloom. And then when they finish blooming, they develop these big seed pods. They can be really, really large. And pokey. But they look like this when they're ripe. And in the winter, after these seed pods open, they drop all their seeds and then they replant themselves for the following year. The Datura plant can grow to be like 3 to 6 feet tall and like 5 feet wide. They like dry washes and desert flats, and they grow in sunny areas. They bloom most of the summer and they're really fragrant at night. Because the Datura plant is highly toxic, containing tropine alkaloids, it's really important to handle this plant with gloves, and you should avoid eating it at all costs. The seeds are highly toxic, as is the rest of the plant. So if you do happen to handle this plant without gloves, be mindful to wash your hands right away and avoid any contact with your face or eyes. I'm going to talk a little bit about the cousin to the belladonna plant. This is called Deadly Nightshade. It grows here in the desert, and it has these beautiful purple flowers with a bright yellow stamen. And when this becomes a fruit, the fruits are orange. This is what the leaves look like, and they have spikes all through them. Belladonna is the cousin because it has the same colored flowers, but the stalk does not have spikes on it, and the berries are purple. Traditionally, belladonna has been used in microdoses to assist with things like gallbladder complaints. Nightshade is also toxic, and if taken, you can poison yourself. And as a belladonna cousin, this plant, it has been used traditionally to, here in the desert, to curdle cheese, which is kind of interesting. The nightshade grows in a huge stalk right here in the bottom, and then what happens is it shoots out its babies from the base and then moves it to a new shoot, and then it grows again, and then it grows across and moves to a new shoot and grows across and moves to a new shoot. And there are the berries. That's what the berries look like for the nightshade. As you can see, as you look down the line, it just keeps on going. This is an invasive plant, and it is very, 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 very difficult to get rid of.